Many of us are very familiar with the Beatitudes. Blessed are. And we're very familiar with them from Matthew's version, the Sermon on the Mount. And we tend to like those because all of them are blessings. Luke, however, takes a different approach. And he makes some of us squirm because he doesn't just talk about blessing, he also talks about the opposite of blessing, cursing, or woes. We might want to think of this version of the Beatitudes as Luke giving disciples, those who wish to follow Jesus, a shorthand manual on what we need to know. 4 blessings, 4 woes. 4 things to remember. For those who are familiar with being part of a sports team, or for those parents or grandparents who may at some time have coached Little League or Rec League football, or maybe T-ball, you know it's impossible to prepare the team for every possibility, especially the younger they are. What do you need to do? You need to teach them the basics, okay? The bat is supposed to hit the ball. With the heavy end of the bat, you hit the ball, okay? Football, there's 2 goal posts. We're going for that goal post. Remember, if you get the ball, you head to that goal post. Basics. And Luke is in effect saying, here are the basics for being a follower of Jesus. You are to respect the poor. You are to respect the hungry. You are to respect these people. And if you don't, the converse or the opposite is true. And those make us uncomfortable, especially for those of us who live in the United States of America, where we live, although for some of us it may not feel that way, when we compare ourselves with our neighbors in the global community, we live rather well here. And what do we do when we hear this, woe unto you who are rich, because you have your comfort now? Right? You have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now. And in a culture which is emphasizing our individual contentment and pleasure, and in a culture that tries to push us to be the best you can be, make the most money you possibly can make now, it's counterintuitive for us to hear this message of the gospel. We prefer to say, next. Turn the page, we'll read the next thing. But then when you turn on the next page and you continue the lesson, it doesn't get any easier. If we get those 4 basics down, Luke goes on to say, love your enemies. And boy, this weekend, that will put everyone to test. I don't care which political party or non-party you are from, which candidate you support or which candidate you hate. Every one of us is challenged. Every one of us is asked to think twice. There was a friend who posted a meme on Facebook this week with a picture of both presidential candidates. And it said, whatever you do, whatever you think, remember, in the end, each is a child of God. Now, if that doesn't make us sit and take notice, what will? For us to think of the opposing political party in this year's environment as someone that we must love, as someone who we must give our respect to, even if they spitefully speak of us and who we are, if that doesn't challenge your very faith, what does? It is a real test for us to be able to say, can I look at Hillary Clinton? Can I look at Donald Trump and say, this is a child of God? That's tough for us, especially in these last 48 hours leading up to Election Day. I'm almost tempted to say we need to have a prayer service on Wednesday to thank God that the election season is over. In fact, what I will do is to say that I want to start an adult faith formation of some sort. And I will open up the parsonage on Wednesday morning with a pot of coffee on, whoever wants to come and either cry or cheer and be willing to say a prayer together. You are welcome on Wednesday morning. I will try to have the parsonage cleaned up by then.
What time?
What time?
What time?
What time on Wednesday?
9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Sorry, I do have to have both eyes open first. I am not a morning person. But my friends, this challenges us, deeply challenges us, to think about what does it mean for us to sit here in the bench on Sunday morning and say, I am a Christian. I believe God has called me to follow the way of Jesus. But then when we turn on the TV at night, boy, the language that comes out of our mouth when we hear what some of the things that are said by either side. I'm not trying to pick on anybody right now. But to bring it further, it's not just in our national elections, is it? How about in our lives as families? How about in our lives as a church? When we have differences, when we vehemently disagree with someone else, can we still look at them and say, that person is a child of God? And I need to pray for them as much as they need to pray for me? This past week, Friday night actually, we received the report from CPR. Phil and I each received it by email. It will be going out to council this week, and after council, it'll go out to the congregation for your reading, for your consideration, for your review. There will be some things that you look at and you read which you will cheer. And there will be some things that get your blood boiling and steam coming out of your ears. I think it is an equal opportunity offender. But through it all, we must remember to act as Jesus would have us act towards each other. To remember that each of us here is a part of the community. that we can be transparent, that we can listen to each other, respect the other person's opinion, and give them the time to listen as much as they give us a chance to listen to them. And then as we begin to put a plan together to work on moving forward, that we can all come together. Because what will unite us is the fact that all of us are children of God. All of us who have joined this church have professed to want to follow the way of Jesus, to be his disciple. Literally, to say we are his disciple is to say that we follow him and his teaching. Which means we remember the 4 blessings, and we live to help those who need those reminders, those blessings. We remember the 4 woes, and we remember to love each other. Because when Jesus says, love your enemies, the opposite is true as well. Love your friends and love yourself. It's not love your enemies and hate yourself or hate your friends. But the last line in the reading is something, that golden rule we always talk about. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Let that be our motto as we move forward together. Let that be our motto on Wednesday morning, after the election is over. Whether or not you come to the parsonage for coffee, or you need something stronger. Remember, we are all one. We may not like each other, but all of us are children of God. And that's why the signs are on the front lawn that say, we stand with love. Because that is the essence of God. That should be the essence of our lives as well. That's what God is. That's what God calls us to be. May we be given the strength, the courage, and the wisdom to follow that route, to walk that road, and not to walk it alone, but to walk with it together, hand in hand, facing our future. Amen.